So this video is about using break even as an aid to helping you make decisions. So when we think about all of our profits and revenue and costs, break even is a really useful tool when trying to make some vital decisions about your business project. So basically what we mean by break even is it's where the amount of incoming money is the same as the outgoing costs. So in other words, when your profit or loss is zero. Now you can calculate this using the calculation below, which is fixed costs divided by the selling price per unit minus the cost per unit. Now that is a fairly complicated looking formula when you first look at it, and it does work, but there are other ways of doing this as well. So if we just show you the example of using that formula, so using the same t-shirt company idea that I used before, we look at our fixed costs and we look at our selling price per unit minus our cost per unit. So in this particular example, our total fixed costs, which if you remember is all of the outgoing costs, so things like rent and utility bills and wages for your staff. And you're going to divide that by how much are you going to sell each t-shirt for, so we've put £10, minus how much it costs to make each t-shirt. So basically it's going to be 9,500 divided by 5 is 1,900. That means that we need to sell 1,900 t-shirts to break even. Now that is obviously a really useful figure, because if we can play around with some of the costs, so we could try and maybe make the t-shirts for slightly cheaper using a different material, or we could charge more for each t-shirt. So if I changed it to £20 per t-shirt, then instead you're going to have to sell a lot less, because it'd be 9,500 divided by 10 instead. So in that case, you're only going to need 950 t-shirts to sell to break even. So a break-even analysis is basically the term for what we've just done. It's a planning tool that helps you as a business to make the right decision, and it increases your chance of success as a business. So you're going to use a break-even analysis when your new business is being set up, or when you are launching a new product. And you would use it to set realistic production targets. So how many t-shirts or how many PlayStations do we need to create? What is a realistic sales target? How many do we need to sell to actually make any money? And also you can use it to review and analyze any past performance. So you could use it for maybe another project when you do something similar. So they're the main reasons why we use a break-even. It's worth pointing out that many businesses don't actually make any profits until they've been set up for 2 years. So obviously that is because it takes time sometimes to get your business established properly. And you might think, well, what's the point if I'm not making any profit? But that's because you and your staff are still getting paid. So you can still function as a business and everyone get paid without making profit. So the main benefits are that we can see the exact amount of units that you're going to need. So you know exactly how many t-shirts you need to sell, gives you a target for how many you need to do. You can see the exact amount of units you need to start actually making a profit. You can also see where you're going to make a loss if you don't sell enough. And you can see where you're going to make a profit if you do sell enough. So it's a really useful little tool. There is something called a break-even graph, which sometimes in the exam you need to be able to label correctly, and you need to have a rough understanding of how these work. So all you're basically doing is on this graph, you are showing your costs and your money that's coming in, like how many are you selling and how much profit and loss could you possibly make. Now, the break-even point is where the two lines intersect with each other, so where they cross over. So where we've got our total costs line going across, and we've got our sales line going across. The point where they meet is called the break-even point. Sometimes you might need to label this on the chart, but you'd never actually be expected to draw this from scratch. Anything above the break-even point is classed as profit, and anything underneath the break-even point is classed as loss. So across the bottom of the graph where you've got unit sales going across here, that will be a numerical value, so it could be 0 to 100, 150, 200. Wherever the break-even point is on that unit sales going down, that is how many unit sales you need to meet to actually break even. And anything above that, it shows you how much profit you would make. So if you do need any more help or you've got any questions, you can contact me at that email and I'll get back to you.